Did you know that Peppa's history could have had more important characters? But some were deleted, and others were placed in the background. Madame Gazelle is the most mysterious resident of the town, with a past that seems to have begun centuries ago. The mystery increases with the existence of Mr. Gazelle. He never took part in events in the town, but we have proof that he is part of the story, a picture frame in Madame Gazelle's living room. In the photo, we see Mr. Gazelle wearing period clothing and an elegant hat. The revealing detail is that the photograph is entirely in black and white, indicating that Mr. Gazelle lived in a very distant time, possibly decades before the time in which the cartoon takes place. Considering the theories that Madame Gazelle is a vampire for having no reflection, and for having been the teacher of all the adults when they were babies, Mr. Gazelle may have been her companion who did not possess the gift of eternal youth. He was deleted from the present timeline, probably having grown very old and turned into a star many years ago. His presence through a photo is a subtle way of telling a story of loss without needing words, leaving the audience the task of imagining who that gentleman was and what his role was in the life of the oldest teacher in the world.
So grab your popcorn and your cold soda, subscribe to the channel, because another zigzag video has just begun.
While we know well Grandpa Pig and Grandma Pig, who are Mommy Pig's parents, there is a mystery that intrigues fans. Where are Daddy Pig's parents? Throughout hundreds of episodes, these characters never appeared and were never mentioned in any family conversation. It is almost impossible to imagine that such a detailed family tree simply forgot to include the paternal grandparents of the pig siblings. The main theory is that they were deleted still in the planning phase to make the story simpler for young children, avoiding confusion when differentiating two pairs of pig grandparents. However, this choice is much debated, since other current cartoons manage to show both sides of the family without problems. The complete absence of Daddy Pig's parents leaves room for many interpretations. Could it be that they live in a distant place? Or that there was some disagreement? The fact is that by being deleted, they left a hole that was never filled, making Daddy Pig's origins an absolute mystery. The next character on this list is also a great mystery. I really would like to know what was going through the mind of the person who created his design. This case is almost a legend, the Paris Extra. This character does not have an official name, but his story is famous. He was originally designed to appear in the special episode in which the pig family travels to France. His design was unique, with somewhat different and even slightly strange characteristics. But when the episode aired, the Paris Extra was simply not there. He was deleted from the final version, possibly because the directors thought his visual style was very different from the rest of the characters. He became a sketch that never fulfilled his original mission, but fate had a small surprise in store. Sometime later, the animators seem to have recycled the character, placing him discreetly in a crowd scene during another episode. He appears for mere seconds, mixed in among many other animals, almost impossible to be noticed without pausing the video. Which of these characters who disappeared would you like to get to know better? Type #PeppaDeleted and tell us in the comments. Suzy Sheep is Peppa's constant companion in her games, but if we look at her family, we notice that she lives only with Mommy Sheep. Where would Daddy Sheep be? The truth is that he is a character who was, most likely, deleted even before having the chance to come to life on screen. It is common that, during creation, the producers draw complete families, but decide to remove some members to create different dynamics. In Suzy's case, deleting Daddy Sheep may have been a decision to represent families that have only a father or only a mother, showing a mother raising her daughter independently. There are many theories about what might have happened to him, from a divorce to sadder stories, but none are officially confirmed. What we know is that his absence helped shape Mommy Sheep's personality, who is one of the most active mothers in the series. Daddy Sheep remains as a shadow in the production files, a character who never left the paper. It is curious to imagine what his interaction with the other fathers would be like, but he continues to be one of the greatest mysteries of the entire Peppa universe. It is just not greater than the mystery of the Queen. The Queen is a perfect example for us to dive into the mysteries that exist in the Peppa Pig universe. What made her special was being one of the very rare humans in a world almost entirely populated by animals. Her presence always brought an air of prestige. After all, she was a direct representation of Queen Elizabeth II. With her elegant dresses and shiny crowns, she appeared during visits that Peppa made to her palace in London. However, a sudden silence took over the character starting in 2022. The reason for this disappearance is quite dark. That year, the real Queen Elizabeth II left us, and the production of the cartoon decided not to include her animated version anymore in new episodes as a sign of respect. The confirmation that she was deleted from the current continuity came explicitly in the game Peppa Pig World Adventures, which brings a tribute showing Peppa jumping in muddy puddles alongside the Queen as a definitive farewell. The official social networks also reinforced this feeling on the show's official account. Thus, the Queen became a historical character, someone who will not return anymore, symbolizing the end of an era both in real life and in fiction. The character we are going to talk about next also never appeared again, but we do not know why. Carol Cow is an example of how a character can be erased little by little until being completely deleted. Originally, she was created to be Mrs. Cow's daughter and to be part of the group of children. In her first appearances, she was seen only in the background, participating in crowd scenes, but she never had an episode focused on her. What confirms that she was discarded for good is the evolution of Mrs. Cow's story. In recent episodes, Mrs. Cow married Mr. Bull. What shocked fans was that, during the wedding ceremony that brought together almost all the characters, Carol Cow simply was not present. Not even a mention or a reserved place was shown. It is as if she had never existed in her mother's life. This decision to delete the character probably came from the need to simplify the new family structure with Mr. Bull, avoiding having to explain the presence of a daughter from a previous relationship. Thus, the poor Carol Cow went from a potential new friend for Peppa to a forgotten extra who disappeared into thin air. And so that we don't disappear for you after this video, just subscribe to our channel by clicking the subscribe button. Pedro Pony is known for being distracted, but few know that he was a substitute for a deleted character, Penny Pony. Before the TV debut, the idea was that Penny would exist in Pedro's place. She had a very similar look, but with feminine details. As things moved forward, the writers felt that the story needed a character with Pedro's characteristics and decided to make the swap. But Penny was not completely forgotten. In a curious way, she makes appearances as a background extra in scenes with many people, such as parties or parks. She appears without a name and without any connection to Pedro. Penny is proof that the world of Peppa Pig is always changing, and that important characters could have been different if a single design decision had been different. The next character on this list also has a strong connection with Pedro Pony, despite never having appeared in the cartoon. Paul Pony seems to be the same age as George, but we know almost nothing about him. If you look in the official illustrated books, you will find Paul, described as Pedro Pony's younger brother, who loves jumping on trampolines. On paper, he seems to be a fun character, but in the television series, the story is frustrating. Paul appeared on screen only twice, and in both, he was treated as a generic background extra. There was no interaction between him and Pedro as brothers, and no one in the family mentioned his existence. It seems that the book team and the animation team were on different wavelengths, resulting in a character who exists in one format, but was practically deleted from the other. Over time, even these appearances as an extra ended, and Paul disappeared completely from the screens. Nowadays, Pedro is treated as an only child, and little Paul became a footnote, a character who only lives on for those who own the old books. Could there be an alternative world in which all these deleted characters live, just waiting for the opportunity to appear?